Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named 𝓑𝓤𝓣𝓣𝓗𝓞𝓛�n in the True Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, "If your husband is a deadbeat, you are not special, and I hope he leaves you like he abandoned us. My parents got divorced when I was young, and my sister Ella and I lived with my mom and grandma full time. We saw our dad a lot for a few years, but he ended up marrying someone else and having more kids, so we maybe saw him on Father's Day only. He didn't call us, come over, or include us in his life until I was 10. Our mom and grandma passed away in a car accident, but we were sent to live with dad and his wife. They did not want us. His wife, I'll call her Penny because that's all she's worth, made it clear we were interlopers, a strain on their marriage. So much so, in fact, that they sent us to live with dad's parents to give them space. Unfortunately, they got sick and couldn't keep us, and we were sent back and ignored. We were never invited to dinners, holidays, or vacations. I was kicked out at high school graduation and joined the military. Ella is still there and unfortunately is pregnant. They're trying to force her to give the baby to a church friend to improve their own status. I wish I were joking. I'm working on helping her. The dad is my best friend and they want the baby, but that's not my point here. Just some background. Penny thinks she is so classy and better than us, but I've realized that she's always just been a bitter second baby mama. My sister and I have always been good kids, barely in trouble outside of a detention or two, and have gotten great grades, but nothing was ever enough for her. She was constantly anxious and would make comments almost hourly to dad about how much better their kids were than us, and how she couldn't wait to have her family back. I know my sister getting pregnant should mean she's not a good girl, but people do make mistakes. And dad wouldn't let her get an abortion. He only wants to punish her and have a healthy baby to trade for some social capital. I used to think Penny was worse than dad. Like, what kind of woman convinces her husband to mistreat his own kids who lost their mother? I despised her and made excuses for dad. But the truth is, they both suck. I'm happy that our mere existence strained their marriage. I hope they get a divorce and dad goes off to start another family while their kids feel the same way we did. We were young children, and instead of making the best of the situation, they decided to treat us like unwanted garbage and shuffle us around until kicking me out. I'm going home this weekend. I'm going to give my dad the facts. He failed both Ella and me. Her baby was a surprise, but since he didn't let Ella get an abortion, they are keeping it. Ella will turn 18 before she gives birth, and the dad, 𝓑𝓤𝓣𝓣𝓗𝓞𝓛, is already on the father's registry, so his church friends are not going to be taking the baby home. Ella is going to live with 𝓑𝓤𝓣𝓣𝓗𝓞𝓛 and his parents, and they're never going to see either of us again. He's going to be embarrassed for promising a baby to someone he knows. He'll never meet his grandchild, and one day he's going to be old and realize that he made a mistake, and it'll be too late. I've already looked into how I can legally change my last name to my mom's maiden name. Ella has already told me that if she ever gets married, I'm walking her down the aisle. We don't have a father. User Grievance Collector said, "That last paragraph gave me chills. Good for you. Trauma doesn't have to rule our world. You are finding a way out." User Disastrous Panda said, "Please make sure your sister is safely away from your dad before you tell him how he won't be getting the baby to trade. He may try to do something drastic. Even if he isn't told where and when she is giving birth, make sure the hospital staff has his description in case he somehow finds out." To this, OP said, "I'm more worried right now because she's still with them and they won't let her talk to me or 𝓑𝓤𝓣𝓗𝓞𝓛. They think she'll just break and give up the baby to this woman. This lady's husband is a lawyer and they have money. She's paying for Ella's doctor out of pocket and has gone to appointments with her even though Ella asked her not to. 𝓑𝓤𝓣𝓗𝓞𝓛's parents want her to move in with them now, but dad won't let her. She doesn't turn 18 until May and the baby comes shortly after that. I just hate how miserable they're going to make this entire pregnancy for her when I know 𝓑𝓑𝓞𝓛 and his family would make it special and safe. I'm hoping I can convince him." Update. I posted the other day, but the gist of my situation is that my dad and stepmom have always neglected my sister Ella and me. I'm in the military a few hours away, and she is still at home, but is dating my best friend 𝓑𝓑𝓞𝓛 and is pregnant. They are forcing her to give the baby up for adoption to a couple from their church and have cut off her contact with myself and 𝓑𝓑𝓞𝓛. They refuse to let Ella get an abortion, and she and 𝓑𝓑𝓞𝓛 want to keep and raise the baby with the help of his parents. It's all a bad situation. Thanks for all of your advice and suggestions. I have kind of a happy update. Ella left my dad's house the other night. She had originally not wanted to do anything extreme, but after we talked, I convinced her the situation was not normal at all and was becoming dangerous. She is at Jando's apartment for now while he gets his parents' basement area cleaned up and ready for them to move into. I've talked to both of them a few times and she's happy and physically healthy, just devastated by the past few weeks. I also talked to our dad. He's furious but isn't calling the police, he says. I think he knows how bad everything looks and is hoping she gets in trouble or something so they send her back to them. That's actually what he said. He also said something weird I want to paraphrase because it seems like a no-brainer, but it was also hurtful. He told me that Ella and I need to realize that sometimes men move on after divorce. He did the right thing and paid child support when we lived with mom and let us live with him when she died. But he moved on because he couldn't live his life in the past. And he remarried, and his wife and their kids would always be his #1 priority forever. He said it would be a bad example to his kids if he put someone else above his wife, saying that's not a good marriage. I reminded him that he had shipped Ella and me away to his parents at one point, and he said that was an example of putting his marriage and family first. I asked him if we were included in that family, and he kind of waffled and ultimately said that we were his family members, but we were not a part of his nuclear family. He said that family ended when he and mom divorced. He's most upset about what the couple will say because apparently Ella wrote them a letter, but he hasn't read it and doubled down on how kind he and his Penny were going to be by letting Ella live there until the end of the year so she could be near and pump for the baby. He tried to tell me that Ella was ruining Jando's life and that if I was a good friend to him, I would convince her to give the baby up for adoption. He asked me a few times to do this. I told him that maybe I would have for my family, but he's not my family, and he said I was being an asshole. It's completely deranged and sick, and I'm so glad she's out. I didn't say all the things I wanted to in my last post, but I might end up writing a letter. I fly back tonight and Jando is going to pick me up at the airport. I hope she'll be with him, but she might not be. He said the roads are better but still not great, so maybe not. I got a little teddy bear that I'm bringing them that kind of looks like one she used to have, so I hope that will cheer her up. I hope he does marry her. I know that's not the most important thing, but between insurance and stability, I think it would be best. I'm not going to bring it up. I was going to on the phone, but our next call was basically us planning on him picking her up from the house, and that was more important. She did get her passport, which won't expire for a few years, but couldn't get her social security card or birth certificate. I'm there all week, so I'm hoping I can help her with that. She also wasn't able to get some of mom's jewelry and isn't sure where it is. She doesn't think Penny took it or anything, but it wasn't where she left it. I do have our grandma's jewelry in a safe deposit box, as that was what I was left. I'm going to try to get mom's from dad's house though when I'm there getting her documents, but she did point out most of it was cheap, just sentimental. I'll be there all week and I'm excited to see them and help Jando out with his basement project. He's using a lot of his own money for it, but I think it's fair since his parents are going to help them out a lot by letting them live there and babysitting. Plus, they're not really rich or anything, but they've always done things like get him a car and had even been helping him with paying some of the rent at his apartment so he could have some fun money. I know he makes okay money, but he's still an apprentice, so I guess it's not that much. There's one thing I'm a little upset about and need to let go. Apparently, this has been going on for over a month, like it all went down before the holidays. Jando and I talk like once a week on the phone and text a lot. Ella and I talk less often, but it's not like it's daily or anything. But I just found out about any of this. The pregnancy. So Ella and I hadn't talked for a few weeks outside of random texts and Christmas, which was super short and odd in retrospect, but Jando and I had been talking a lot and he had kept it from me. He admitted this in our call after I'd talked to Ella and basically said he felt like a failure and he wasn't protecting her. I'm not mad about all of that. I know our dad is a massive dick, but it hurts that he kept it from me. I probably won't bring it up. I know he has a lot going on and I need to just support them both, but it's weird that last week I was just bopping along in life and they had all this going on and I didn't know. I feel bad about it. I probably won't update until I get back. I want to really focus on them, and even though you're all giving me good advice and I'm very thankful, I think I need to be present for them and be mature and stoic, which is hard because I'm neither. I have not let my chain of command know what's going on. Some people messaged me that I should, but I don't think I will. It's not going to affect my work, and I am not someone that has a lot of drama or issues. and I take pride in that. So as far as anyone at work knows, this is just a trip home that I had planned for a few months. Update 2, at the airport waiting around, so I thought I'd write an update on my week visiting home. Some pretty good highs, but some bad lows. You've all been really nice, and I've had a lot going on, so sorry if I didn't respond a lot. Jando picked me up from the airport and it was great seeing him, but as we were heading out, he was like, "Okay, are you going to punch me or anything?" I was going to give him grief, but it was late and I was exhausted, so I told him no. But he did tell me he wanted to propose to Ella, not asking me for permission or anything, but kind of like making sure I was good with it, which obviously I am. He hadn't bought a ring and he was kind of like, it feels dumb to spend money on that, but he wanted to get her something, and we talked about maybe a cheap one now, but upgrading it later. I have a ring from my grandma and it's pretty ugly and has the diamond one attached permanently to the wedding ring, but I could offer him that. He said he wanted to do it this week and we ended up getting one over the weekend at TJ Maxx that won't rust or discolor her fingers or anything, but it was inexpensive, but the style she liked. Side note, the lady at TJ Maxx was so nice and helpful and didn't seem judgmental at all. He also asked me a few times if I blamed him or thought he ruined her life. I told him he shouldn't think like that. I didn't want to bring up that I was mad at him. I do trust him with my sister, but I know it takes two people to make a baby, but he's older and I don't know. Me being angry at Jando isn't going to help anyone. It probably isn't fair, and he does seem like he's doing his best in a bad situation. I was, of course, happy to see Ella, but she isn't doing well in my opinion. She doesn't look pregnant, to be honest. I think it's too early, but it's almost like she seems younger than the last time I saw her. I don't know. She is usually a ball of sunshine and chatty, but she's obviously been through a lot, but it was rough. I mean, I know it's worse for her, but it was hard seeing her like this. She was really anxious. She told me multiple times that she had been on birth control and apologized to me a lot. She asked me if she ruined Jando's life and if he was just letting her stay there because he felt like he had to. I told her of course not, we all love her and nobody was angry with her, but she didn't seem like she believed me. She's also been working with her school to finish online. Our old school is like 45 minutes from Jando's apartment, and there's already a ton of gossip and drama with everything. Plus, she has enough credits to graduate this semester. She just planned a bunch of electives. It seems like that's going to work out, but nothing is finalized yet. She does have a job, but it's also like 30 minutes away, so she's seeing if she can transfer stores. Luckily, they love her and are working it out. Jando brought up her not needing to work right now, but she's really insistent. Jando's parents are the best though. His mom is super excited for the grandbaby and very happy Ella is with Jando now. His dad's kind of not a man of many words and stuff, but he was really soft and sweet to Ella. They want Ella to start college as usual in the fall, and his mom's retiring and really wants to make everything work out. They've always treated us like their own and love Ella, but she's anxious she's going to be a bad mom and they'll judge and hate her, and Jando will break up with her and she'll be homeless. Dad and Penny did a number on her self-esteem. I told her first of all she had me, and even if all of that happened, even though it wouldn't, I wouldn't let her be homeless. She needs to accept all the help she can get. They're very lucky to have them, but I am worried about them outstaying their welcome. I mean, they might not. It's just I'm sure the baby will be hard and stressful, but they seem positive but not delusional. She needs a new doctor. Once they get married, she can go on Jando's insurance, but right now she's still on Dad's and he still has decision-making power. She did set an appointment up with a new doctor, but hasn't seen them yet. Ideally, she will be able to get on Jando's insurance as soon as possible, so it should be covered, but I know they're stressed out. She is mad at our dad, really mad for obvious reasons, but she's never been a cruel person. She used to be obsessed with making him happy or proud, and now she just gets really dark when he gets brought up, not even angry, like she gets when someone talks about Penny or anything. It's weird and not fun to see, and I did go to Dad's house. He wasn't there, but Penny was and had Ella's stuff. She kind of went off on me about how ungrateful Ella and I are, and I went off right back on her and was like, listen bitch, you won. You have our dad. Forever. We don't exist and are completely dead to both of you. She was all sarcastic and like, oh, I'm sorry your dad didn't love you enough to stay single the rest of his life. And I had a really good comeback in the barrel, and I told her it was just a shame he did it for such a cheap prize. It wasn't nice, and she had a lot of digs I didn't have comebacks for, but Yeah, I got Ella's papers and her things, and she said it was all there. Dad called and chewed me out, and I just set the phone down. As disarming as Ella's new attitude is, it's better than before regarding our dad. She used to do anything to make him happy or proud, and I'm glad she's mad at him now, but she's not doing well. Jando is doing a really good job of taking care of her, which is good, but I told her she maybe needed therapy. She doesn't want it, she might change her mind, and I didn't push it. We celebrated his birthday, and at one point she was like, "Oh, just think about how drunk you'll be this time next year." He was like, "I'm sure we'll be too busy," and she got really quiet and didn't say much more that night. He did propose. I wasn't there when he did, but she did say yes and seemed happy about it. She called Dad about him signing permission for it. I told her I would call, but she wanted to. This is after I had gone off on Penny, so he was obviously mad, but he just said he'd do it. He told her he was done with her and didn't care anymore, and she told him it was the same with her. I wish she hadn't poked him, but I think he did give up. He at least did sign it and hasn't gone after her or anything. They didn't get married when I was there. It only happens on certain days, and they didn't have enough time to get everything in order. Ella brought up maybe visiting me and getting married there, but Jando didn't think it would be a good idea to spend money traveling right now. She said she'd want me to be there, but he said that might not be possible, but they could still have a big wedding one day. She told him that would be stupid and went to bed. I feel like he was kind of dismissive about it all because she obviously had some views on how it would be, but I don't know. I sleep on the couch at his apartment, so it wasn't like I could have left the room during the fight. They do normally bicker a lot, but never mean or usually over silly things. So I'm not too worried, but it wasn't all lovey-dovey the whole time. He's also trying to teach her how to drive stick shift, and she gets frustrated easily, so there's some tension there, but they'll probably get married in the next week or so. He'll need to take off work, and she'll have to miss class, but hopefully by then she can be online. Penny has been posting on Facebook about us. One of my buddies is friends with her and sent me screenshots. Basically that we're ungrateful, and she's so grateful she was able to give Dad a loving and appreciative family and how they're right with the church and blah blah blah. I'm not even mad. Like I told her, she won, but I think we're better off. The only other thing is that the church lady did send Ella an email. It was nice and said she understood, but Ella said she was fake and hated her. She didn't reply to the email though. It did seem sincere, but I hardly know this woman. I don't think they're going to keep going after the baby or anything. I don't know if Dad is still invited to the husband's golf trip, but I don't care. Before I left, I did try to talk to Ella about not being so hard on Jando. I told her he's trying his best and loves her, but I know she has a lot of anxiety, so I don't think she listened. I told her he's nothing like our dad, and she did agree, but told me I didn't understand. I wish she would get some therapy, but I know money is tight, but I hate seeing her this way. He told me before he dropped me off that when they're alone, she's more like her old self, which is good. I just don't want them to start resenting one another because of all of this. I know she's sad and anxious, but he is doing his best, even if it's not perfect. Thanks for everyone's advice. Things are better, but I hope they get even better. I don't think I'm allowed to update here again, but I'll see what I can do. You've all been really helpful, and I appreciate it a lot. This next post was made in the TIFU subreddit a month ago by a user named 𝓑𝓤𝓣𝓣𝓗𝓞𝓛�n. The post is titled, "I let my mom use my butthole Vaseline." So this happened a while ago, but I almost busted a lung reliving it today. I hope I'm not breaking any rules. When I was in university, I was a Division I water polo player. This means we had tight swimsuits that are a singular panel with no smaller straps that someone might hold on to, basically completely covering us from neck to panty line, front and back. These swimsuits are extremely tight and zip up in the back. We often had to do long swim sets wearing water polo suits instead of normal swimsuits, or do get out drills, where we would swim, pull ourselves out of the water, and do some exercise on land. I have extremely sensitive skin, so my water polo suit would chafe my skin horribly, basically creating burns where the suit rubbed against my skin. I would get burns from swimming long distances and it zipped. When I unzipped it, I would get burns in a V pattern where the zipper sat. Water polo suits also ride up like a wedgie, giving me chafed burns in my butt crack. My doctor recommended that I try applying Vaseline to reduce the friction, which I did basically every day. Therefore, I had a quart-sized tub of Vaseline. When I was moving out of my apartment, my parents came to help me. We were packing up my stuff when I turned around and saw my mom holding the tub of Vaseline, rubbing her lips together like you do when you apply chapstick. The look on my face must have been utter shock and horror. She just goes, "What?" And I burst out laughing. I told her that's my water polo Vaseline that I rub all over my body. It's not for lips. I didn't mention exactly what unmentionables I'd applied it to. I am not an animal. It's not like I was double dipping, but these burns were crazy painful. And I can't be totally sure I didn't say forget it some days and double dip. Okay, you're right, I did double dip, but I tried not to. Keep in mind that I would jump into a vat of heavily chlorinated water about 30 seconds later, so I figured sanitation wise it was whatever. Today, while visiting for Christmas, my mom offered me some Vaseline for my lips and I said, "You don't use this one for your butthole, right?" We both started laughing and she said she never told me exactly what I had used it for, but it's been almost 10 years and she's fine, so whatever. Anyway, I think we both have core memories of each other's faces from that day, her innocently rubbing her lips together and me wide-eyed in panic. User The Modest Proposal said, "Reminds me of the time my granny put some kind of tingling lube on her lips thinking it was chapstick. My cousin got it as a novelty gift and left it somewhere random. Granny asked if she could use the chapstick. Cousin said, sure, from the living room. Next thing we know, my grandma is walking in the room, popping her lips, saying they feel funny, and asking what kind of chapstick it was, holding it up in front of the whole family. My cousin got a lesson in putting stuff like that in a drawer from that day on." Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.